Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where everybody is in the world today. Oh, it has been a while since we recorded one of these, hasn't it, Laura?
Yes. Even though it
It ha-
feels like we're recording every day because we live this every day.
exactly. We live it every day. We talk about it every day. But equally, we're very excited because we've been working on so many beautiful things in the background for everyone. So there's going to be some big announcements coming in the next couple of days. So please keep an eye out in the group. And yeah, we'll be letting everybody know about what has been happening. And the Shift and Co is moving. We're shifting.
We really
Can't wait.
are. It's a
Uh,
beautiful merging of shifting energies, shifting the mindset, elevating the
mm,
consciousness to really create a life of happiness and options,
yeah,
fun, which empowers us. So we're very excited.
absolutely. Absolutely. Today's topic is, I think, one that can be very difficult for couples. Well, people in general, because we're talking about money today, but we're not talking about how to make money or the laws of wealth or anything like that. We're talking about the effect of money in a relationship.
Mm.
Oh, it's a conversation that I think I've had to have obviously several times in my life, and I'm sure you have as well, Laura. But it's never a comfortable one because it does require full, complete, transparent honesty from both parties, right? And interestingly enough, when I was doing some research for the topic, there's actually a term called financial adultery, and I did not know
Mhm.
that this existed where people will hide savings accounts
Yes.
or credit cards or whatever the case may be from their spouse. And that causes huge friction in relationships. But equally, I think if there is a full, beautiful understanding between the two of you as to what is happening and how you're wanting to interact with your wealth and actually have friends who do this. They have the most incredible relationship. He
Mm.
makes a huge amount of money. She used to, and she's decided to be a stay-at-home mom now. She still does work, odds and ends and whatnot. Um, and we were discussing it actually last week. I said, "How do you guys, navigate this? Is it difficult for you?" And she said, "No." She said, "In the beginning, it was."
Mm.
Because she wants to be fully independent and have her own money and a separation of church and state, um, and then to get to that point where she says where she was able to trust
Yeah.
that the money aspect was not going to be coming between them. It was instead going to be something to build the life that they as a family are wanting to achieve. But what is sort of your take on it? What have you gone through in your life with the
Oh, yeah, you just
sorry?
froze for a quick moment, but
Oh,
that's okay. Yes, so, I went through this personally. I started working before I could even drive a car. I was always a creative, had money in a pouch in my room when I was, very young, opened up a bank account right at 16, could walk to it in our small town, and really, was taught about, the energetic exchange of work and money, and not to be afraid of hard work because it brought in this flow, as you and I were talking about, of options. And when you're young and you have an allowance from maybe your parents, but to have your own money was the coolest thing. And
oh
I
yeah.
think for so many of us, and we can, there's so many branches on this tree of growing up in poverty, of thinking, growing up in actual hardship around in our environment. So, I think these conversations, we all need to take them in our best way of non judgment, and understanding that we all have such an individualized relationship with money. But for me, I've been a worker, I've always had my own money. Never once have I counted on anyone past, my parents and help in that way. And just a few years ago, when all of this started to go with the science of empowerment and writing the book and the Shift and Co and everything that we really wanted to create. So talking to the people that are working and now beginning their side hustle, actually their dream state, going into their passion work and really wanting to get out of that grind of what they have to do for the paycheck. This was a conversation that my husband and I had to have. What is this going to look like as I slowly release my clientele from my other business and moving into that shifting position where there's a lull, right, in the valley before you start, really creating wealth from something new. And it wasn't so difficult talking about it with my husband and I, but it was very difficult, I will say, and I'll recalibrate that word for those of you that know the science of empowerment. It was challenging to learn to trust that someone else was going to be in the position to be bringing in the money, and then how it dispersed and how are we budgeting. And then if I wanted money for whatever, I needed it for. So I think there's men and women now. It's not just the man's making the money and the woman is at home anymore. There's a lot of role reversal in the 21st century, and men are taking on that position. However, side note, I've met many a gentleman who love it. They love being the stay-at-home dad and making the lunches, taking the kids, helping around the house more, being a coach, after school. There's a really cool experience coming out of this shift. But again, it depends on the individual. How are they raised? What is their relationship to money? So I think that it's a sensitive and sometimes vulnerable subject to embrace. But if we enter it knowing that it can be a very empowering conversation for the collective, the relationship, the individuals, the family, I think we can learn how to dialogue it so that it actually elevates the position of the money relationship in the couple's exchange.
I want to expand a bit on something you just said there about the relationship that we have with money, because that is oftentimes the actual underlying root and cause of challenges in relationships when it comes to money issues. Because, and actually, I'll use a personal example. When I was a lot younger, so we're talking about a good 20 years back now, there was someone who I felt deeply, madly, stupidly in love for. I thought that she was the absolute best thing I'd ever seen in my life. We got on like a house on fire. We all know those kinds of relationships where it's like you can just quite literally sit and talk for days on end. The sun will rise and set and you won't even notice. It was a really beautiful relationship. But she refused to date me. And I couldn't understand why. I never could wrap my head around this. And none of our friends could understand why we weren't in a relationship, because we were so clearly in love with each other. Why are the two of you not dating and getting married? And fast forward many years later, well, I shouldn't say many years, about 3 or 4 years later, I found out that her mother had actually gone to her and said, I see what's developing between you and Stefan. I would actually advise you to not date him. And when I heard this, of course, I was livid and how very dare she and blah, 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 and got on the horn to my mother. And I'm like, Mom, how could she do this? This is just awful. Whatever happened to love conquers all and blah, 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 blah. My mom listened to me rant. And she goes, are you done? I'm like, yes, I am. And she says, Stefan, that girl comes from an incredibly wealthy family. You do not. She says, I'm not saying that you're not going to be wealthy one day. You might, or you might not. That's a decision that you need to make. She says, but for where you are right now, you do not earn anywhere near in the same tax bracket as what she's used to. And I went, but why should that matter? She says, now that right at this point in time, it probably doesn't. Except if you had to get married and she's used to getting a pair of fancy shoes every single week because daddy and boyfriend and all the rest of it can afford it and she can too. And suddenly you can't afford it. The first month she'll be fine with it. The third month she might start to get a bit iffy. After a year, she's going to be complaining about all sorts of things, but it's actually the money issue.
Yeah.
And had to sit down, calm myself down, hear the advice, and really see what was being taught to me. And that really is the issue, our relationship towards money. So for me, I've never really had lack in my life, but money is not something that I used to chase after, or really thought that I needed to be super wealthy or anything like that. Whereas with her family,
Mhm.
wealth is a high priority. They're not materialistic, but
Right.
they like to have nice things. They like to travel. They like to spoil their friends, etc., etc. And that was just not a lifestyle that I was used to. And when I really sat down and thought about it, it hit me. I was like, that would actually cause huge friction
Huge.
if we were unable to navigate that. And given how young we were, there was no chance we were going to be able to navigate that. We did not have the emotional skill set, the mental skill set to
And
do so.
and look at the alignment. Again, if we money is just an energy. That's all, like
Yes.
everything, reminding everyone, energy isn't everything. So there's negative and positive movement within each structure, within the way we're thinking, the feeling, the interaction, what we're reading, what we're watching. If we look at everything from the position of what energy is in this experience. So you look where she pulled in an easy alignment with money. It
Mm,
wasn't it wasn't an issue, a hardship, a challenge. She just wasn't born into it. And beautiful for her and that family and all of
yeah.
us who understand what that specific exploration into alignment with attracting, manifesting, creating, working for that stream of connection to money. It's no
Yeah.
different if we had taken that story and we filled it in with, you loved to work out every day. You were fit, lean machine, rock star working out. And she was a beautiful, full bodied, just eating cheese and wine every day and baking breads and loving, just wanted to have babies and cook and didn't want to move out in the workout world at all. You might be like, oh my God, this is amazing. The smell of our home. And she's just exquisite baker and cook. And I'm just so in love with her. But then all of a sudden, when you wanted to do something with her, go hiking, rock climbing, swimming, jump off a cliff on a vacation, take her on a run, whatever it may be, there's where the rub would hit. So maybe a very unique way might be to look at money conversations in a way that you already are aligned with and understand that it's not the money. It's at the
The
root
energy.
of, what is my interest? What makes me happy?
Mm,
What brings me flow? It happens to be money in the moment, but look at it again. Or the movies that we like to watch. If you love action and she despises action and just wants love stories, how many nights are you going to sit in a lifetime and enjoy watching the movies together? Not many, because she's going to be like, oh my God, another bang 'em up, machine gun toting,
right.
superhero movie. And you're going to be like, if I have to watch another girl cry and talk to her friends over wine on the couch, this is just examples of how we function within the human condition. And if we change our perception, i.e., look at it through the lens of energy, now we
Yes.
can start to dissolve, right, the angst around it and realize that before we get involved with said partner, love affair, business, whatever it may be, let's have a real heart to heart discussion on where are we aligned energetically, i.e., mindset, emotionality, conscious awareness to the field of money. And it changes everything.
It really does. It really, really does. And further to that about it being energy, because it really is, right?
Mhm.
And actually, there was a beautiful, not even an analogy. It's just it's a truism um, that I heard in a discourse the one day. It was I can't actually remember who it was by, but what he was basically saying was money is actually just energy, Because think about it. It used to be that money was gold coins, copper coins, etc. Then eventually we moved on to notes, right?
Mhm.
And then now money has literally become light because how often do we actually draw cash? Everything's done with a card that taps. The money is sent via fiber optic cables from one bank to another, right? So it has literally become just energy. That's all it
That
is.
that's it. Yeah.
And when we understand that, we're now able to change our approach to it. So, talking now about maybe couples who are already in a relationship where they have vastly different ideals around us, and as you know, friends of mine where he's an absolute, well, by his own admission, a miser. He just tight fisted, doesn't, when the money comes in, it doesn't go out, and that's it. Very, very frugal with his cash. And his wife is, she likes to spend, she likes to buy nice things. They both have great jobs, they both make really good cash. So it's not too much of an issue, but there's still a bit of a rub there, right?
Right.
There's still a little bit of a,
Mhm.
oh, I wish you wouldn't spend so much, or I wish you wouldn't be so miserly with your money. And I think when, for what I actually said to them was, at the time, if you start to look at money as energy and you start to think about energy in terms of frequencies,
Mhm.
wavelengths, right? You start to understand that energy moves in a specific type of way, right?
Mhm.
Once you understand that and you recognize that it likes to flow,
Right.
now you start to understand that, okay, I don't have to be quite so tight fisted, and I also don't have to give it all away.
Right.
Money does like to flow, but I always envision sort of a, um, actually, I've got this vision in my mind of two hands, but instead of grasping the cash, they're gently allowing a rope of money to flow through both palms. So there's a constant flow in and out, and it just becomes more peaceful and more what's the word I'm looking for, Laura?
Well, again, it's more of the way we connect to the feeling around
Mhm.
money that creates, right, the discourse or the
Yes.
distortion. And depending on how we were raised around the idea of money, it really is an imprint of emotion that we carry with us. So we're either, as you said, it's either just releasing out because we have this trust that it's always coming in, or we're holding so tightly because we didn't have enough, or maybe we did, but someone in the family line lost it all, or we read stories about people losing it. I think for me, the best way to look, one of the ways to look at this is to understand that with all things in life, they shift. And when you just use the analogy of from a coin to a note to a paper to now fiber optics, this is a pure, beautiful example of the elevation, the change, the shift of how
Yes.
money is starting to move through the human condition. We have to flow with that. If you find yourself being resistant to money, that's where you need to go in. That is your work. Not going to, that
Yes.
terminology, lean into it. But yes, for me, I would go into the exploration first emotionally, mentally, spiritually, consciously. What is it that I'm stuck on? Why is it not flowing? What is the thought process buried deep under the conditioning of my relationship with money? And none of this is to say that you can change this overnight, though we can. Just some of us are not that skilled at the moment. Begin to change your money. And I shared this many, many like years ago when you and I first started talking about money, that I had a friend who was getting ready to do a startup and creating business. And he didn't have a lot of blocks, but money was tight. He had 3 young kids, wife that wasn't working at the time, big goals, big dreams. They went out and um, copied their Monopoly set money And they started copying ones, fives, tens, 50s, hundreds, money, cutting them out perfect in bills and put them everywhere. And I believe this may go back to something that Tony Robbins said, and I'm talking 30 plus years ago at the beginning of his audio recordings, because I remember Evan telling me about this. They put money everywhere. They stuffed it in coat pockets. They put it in their junk drawer. They put it on the floor of their car. I mean, he was in detail about this. And I remember when I met them, and at this time I was doing interior design work in my business, and I found money everywhere, and the kids played with it. There was this playful energy in the house, and I will share with you that he is well north of $30 million now of his personal net worth. And I haven't talked to him in a while, but I remember the last time we talked, we were talking about the energetic connection of money. And he and I used to have wonderful conversations about this. I was young at the time. And he still to this day has some of that leftover money that he keeps as a reminder of the playfulness and
Beautiful.
the flow of it.
Yes.
These are just examples. And I know I could hear people right now thinking, if I put Monopoly money, and some young people may not even know what Monopoly is, it's a money game. It's a great game. Play it. It's
really
fun.
is, yeah.
Yes. But it really is our relationship. So as I say, suspend the doubt, suspend all the angst and the frustration and the lack of confidence around money, and start to become a bit more playful with the idea of it, and maybe print some money and just start putting it around. And
Yeah.
another quick advice that my dad, who was born, my stepfather, in 1910, went through a tough depression. So that'll tell you how long ago. Yes. My stepfather, he also used to tell me, always keep $100 in your wallet. And this was a man that grew up with not pennies. And he worked and built on his relationship with money and did very, very nicely. And my brother and I, we were just talking about it actually a few weeks ago at the beach. We always keep money, $100. We don't spend it. And if we do, we replace it before we do anything else. We always feel that there's money connected to us, period. And it's something that, again, individually, we have to figure out, what does that look like? How can I begin to build this new relationship with money for myself, so that when I do go to discuss it with my partner, with my boss, with my spouse, I have a confidence about my connection to it, so that I'm better prepared, more skilled at maybe the conversation that will ensue and how I can respond to it, and also maybe help that other person shift their relationship with their money issues as well.
So I also have struggled with my relationship towards money, because a lot of my friends have commented in the past that if I sort of, fall on the bones of my backside, I pick myself up and I'll find a new job, or I'll suddenly, hustle and I'll get some cash in. And so I've always had this sort of, I guess, not difficult or challenging, but an on-off relationship with money. Sometimes I'd have a lot, sometimes I'd have next to nothing. Always perfect. I would feel happy about it, but at the same time, I'd be like, I wish I could have a more stable relationship with money. And something that really helped me was I was listening to a podcast actually on healing money wounds. And they had a lot of, the normal tips and tricks and stuff that you should do. And actually the keeping $100 in your wallet was one of them, just that you always feel like you have wealth.
Yeah.
And they also said the other thing you should do if you really are looking to become wealthy, is buy yourself an outfit that costs a huge amount of cash, but it must feel luxurious on your body. And that's just one of the things that they shared. But then the main takeaway for me, which has really helped me, and I cannot, now I'm thinking about it, I'm like, gosh, it really did change my whole life, because it's been 2 years now that I've had a very good relationship with money. And what they said was, try and anthropomorphize, is that the correct word? Yes, what money is. So imagine that money is a person, and imagine that money is a best friend of yours.
Mhm.
And then ask yourself, sit and speak to money and say to money, do you like how I treat you?
Right.
And they actually said, if you're someone who is very miserly and keeps your money with both fists and you don't let it go, if you had a best friend and you didn't want to share that friend with anyone, how long would you have that friend for?
Yeah.
Not very long. That friend would leave you. If, on the other hand, you're the kind of person who spends on everything willy-nilly that doesn't actually really mean anything, you're literally just throwing your money away. Again, how would a friend feel if instead of spending time with them and doing uplifting things, you were just literally going, oh no, go over there and do that, and go over there and do that, and go over there and do that. And it's not actually helping
Right.
in any way, shape, or form. Again, how long would that friend stay with you?
Right.
And suddenly I was like, this is interesting. This is really, and that is actually what is helping to change my relationship with money to one where it's a more stable relationship and not this on off where we're dating 1 month and the next 1 month we're not.
And the word, right? And so many of us would use that word. It's really security. Stability brings security. And I was just
Yeah,
having a conversation with my eldest daughter yesterday about this, trying to figure out her relationship with money and the things that she wants to do. She's young, she has lots of dreams. She's thinking of, wanting to buy a house, but not really liking her present job, even though she makes great money. But now, really early on in her life, realizing how important it is to be happy every day and to wake up, but also wanting to have this amazing life. And what does that look like? That movement, that exchange of ideas into work. And I'm going to use the word work, but in a fun way to create. And we were just talking about this. Money can be confidence, money can be options, and money absolutely brings happiness if you're happy before the money. My
there we
husband
go.
and I talk about this all the time. When we travel, people are like, we have truly the best vacations. It doesn't matter. We could, yes, go to France to visit family, but we're also sitting just eating cheese and bread and wine. It's because we're bringing this energy of gratitude, of maybe
Yes,
we saved all year when all of our other friends were out spending money. And they're like, well, how do you get to go on this trip? Because we looked at the way money works for us and what
there we
we
go.
want to use it and apply it for. So we're never upset or in a hardship journey towards saving for something we know is going to be
It's done
magical.
with joy.
Yes, our relationship with money is happy because we're happy interdependently, so that when we come together, our goals are more aligned. So, again, I was telling my daughter about this. I said, you have to find that fulfillment within first, without money. Because even if you get it, it will never be enough, or it
Mm,
won't come fast enough, or it'll drain out, or you'll grab the money, you'll buy a house, it'll be a money pit. And she knows this because she's lived with me, she's lived with the science of empowerment. So I was so amazed at this young woman and how some of her, and I'm going to use the word mindset training through how we live, is starting to affect in a positive way her thought process. And I'm sharing this with you for all the adults who are listening that have younger children, say under 25, young adults and young children. That's really the importance of where we start our relationship with money, and reminding them that passion and joy and fun are really at the foundation of attracting wealth.
yes,
And then wealth will bring you options. And options is what stabilizes the human condition, because we're not in those lows of depression or the high of excitement, and we're not kind of getting thrown up and down, right? Banging the feet, banging the head in between, that instability of, I have a lot. Oh my God, I lost it all. I have a lot, now I lost it all. So I think it's really important to look at, and again, don't run too deep here, but let's honor our past experiences. What was
Yes.
our family like? Our parents did the very best they could, I'm sure. Maybe we weren't all, I always say we're not a princess of a Dubai king at the moment, driving a Lamborghini on our 16th birthday, or riding our unicorn pony in the backyard. But let's look at what did we have, find the gratitude for where they worked hard and what they tried to give us at the best that level that they could. And now we're equipped. And the Shift and Co, we talk about this all the time: podcast, books, movies, music, friendships, business partners. We have such a wealth of information to help elevate our relationship with
Truly
money.
do.
And how
Yeah.
can we start creating a new way of looking at what money can look like for us, so that we do have a more stable, calm, and quite beautiful relationship with this money energy experience in our
Yeah.
lifetime? Because it's here, it's not going anywhere, not in our
No.
lifetime. So we have to figure out, how can I attract it or manifest it, work for it, create with it, so that it becomes like that beautiful, loving partner, someone that really brings us joy and happiness and gratitude, that I finally found my way to this person. I finally found my way to this beautiful kind of flow of wealth. And
Yeah.
now, how can I continue this relationship in a really positive way?
So I think the key takeaways here today are: one, to be completely transparent and openly honest with our partners when it comes to where we are in our journey with our relationship with money, how that interacts with the other person's journey, and also what we intend to do to either heal money wounds that we might have, or just improve the relationship that we have in general with it. And make it, like you said, keep it fun, keep it joyful, keep it light. It doesn't have to be a chore. That's why I love that idea of talking to money as though it's a person, because
Yeah.
now it becomes fun, right? It's not a chore. It's just like, okay, how would I like to treat my friend today?
And again, we all know what it is to be in a position, if you're listening to this and you've lost a job, or you're in between jobs, or you're a single parent, and never, ever would we dismiss the challenges that come with certain experiences in life. What we're saying is that you are in the power seat of choice, and
Yes.
how you begin to look at your thought process around money is the topic of today. You, and only you, can begin to shift the way you are looking at it, with the awareness of the imprint of experiences in the past. Use that as a recalibration mechanism to start building a new relationship as you go through your days. And I do promise you that if you begin to work the mind energetic
Mm,
way of looking at money, and you start to gather information, principles, skills, different ways of looking at your relationship with money, and you do what is necessary to get back in the world and make money, it will absolutely change. And you can
yeah.
elevate your present condition and build a more positive relationship, thus a more wealthier exchange of monies
Yeah.
in your life. You really can. Don't
And I
give up.
think it's safe to say that we both are living proof of that exact statement. So we're
Yes.
not just saying it, people. We've actually lived it. We really
Yeah.
have.
Yeah. Yeah. We do. This is what we talk about. This is what I love about the Shift and Co. There is transparency. Who all of you who follow us, we really do bring our own real life experiences to you. We know what it is to be down, middle, and up, and all in between. And we're telling you that we have figured out and continue to explore and to hone in and redefine and refine mechanisms that are helping us build our dreams and
Well,
our
absolutely.
goals. And that's why
Yeah.
we share them with you.
So that does bring us to our tarot reading on the energy of this conversation.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting what all has come out here. There's a lot of information that's coming through. So, on the one hand, there's definitely a sense of, and I think a lot of people can resonate with this, almost like a fear around money, that it's going to be taken away from you, that people are trying to take it away, that there's, and we know there's a lot of fear in the world at the moment with banks collapsing and all of that kind of stuff. But the advice is very much to balance our emotions around it, A, and B, very interesting, the strongest advice here is don't work for money, let money work for you. And what the underlying energy from that is saying is it takes an incredibly strong personal character to be able to, that's actually, there's a phrase that was used. You want to treat money as if it is a servant of yours, but not a servant that you sort of beat and shout at and all the rest of it. Think more of that manager or boss that we've all had at one point in our lives, that was the most phenomenal person that you could ever have worked for. And they would give you orders to do something, but you did it with joy because they treated you well. And that's what's coming through. Treat money well, use it effectively, and have it work for you. And you'll be amazed at how quickly, so that's something, money does love speed, how quickly its energy will turn around and really start to come full swing in towards us. So, yeah.
And this is a perfect example of when you see wealthy attracts wealthy. And you look at it like, well, but listen to how they gathered their money. Watch what they've done. So many times we see the end product and we just think, whoo, look at that. You back up that story to the very first thought of what that person wanted to create. And for some people, it's decades in the making. So we're not saying that, only the rich become rich. They chose a different path, mindset, followed through, executed a game plan, and now we're seeing that end result. And every single one of us has that exact opportunity in our own unique way to create and build our own journey into what money can look like for us. So, of course, after our tarot reading, which I love because it's such a unique aspect to the Shift & Co. and this global podcast, we do take a power quote from my international book, The Science of Empowerment, which is at the foundation of everything we do. So the thought now around money is, a new thought can be an empowering source of personal transformation. So I pulled this way before we got on. And I want you to, so again, real quick, take this thought with you and use this thought to begin your new foundation of how you feel and look at your relationship with money. A new thought can be an empowering source of personal transformation. Change your thought around money and begin to transform your relationship with money. And that will empower you.
Beautiful. Beautifully said. Oh, excuse me 2 seconds, everybody. Oh, sorry about that. Bit of a tickle in the back of my throat there. But yes, I could not agree more. Laura, thank you so much as always for your time today. To our audience, as usual, please do click the like and subscribe, and also do share as well. And in the description, you will see a link to purchase Laura's book, The Science of Empowerment, which is where we get our wonderful power quotes from every single week. And everybody will be happy to know it is on Amazon. And I actually just got 2 gifts for friends of mine of it. And it was delivered actually within, I think, 2 days. So it's a very nice, quick turnaround time. Yeah. So please do grab yourselves a copy. Honestly, it will change your lives. It really, really will.
It will. Thank you.
But until next time, we will see you very, very soon. And do keep a lookout in the Facebook group for some really cool announcements that are coming up. So, yay.
Have an empowered weekend.
Bye.